I never imagined a CEO would laugh at my plea until I turned it into a heart-stopping triumph. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The air was thick with thick tension. My heart banged against my ribcage, a music of fear I could hear above the murmurs in the boardroom. It felt like all eyes were boring into me, judging, waiting for me to crack. My hands trembled, gripping the edges of the podium, slick with sweat. I was desperate. I was out of options. And yet, there I was, standing before a titan. Daniel Mercer, the man who turned a struggling startup into a billion-dollar empire. His blue suit seemed too sharp, almost blinding under the fluorescent lights. "Please, Mr. Mercer, just give me a chance," I implored, my voice shaking. But there was that laugh. It rang out, harsh and mocking, breaking the fragile silence. I felt my cheeks burn, a wave of shame washing over me. Did he even hear the depth of my plea? The urgency? Did he see the tears threatening to spill from my eyes? I thought of Emily, my younger sister, battling her own demons. The weight of her struggles rested heavily on my shoulders. With each passing day, I felt the urgency grow. I needed this job. I needed the health insurance, a steady paycheck. I needed to keep her afloat. A family with no lifeboat. The room was a museum of faces, my colleagues were tense, shifting uncomfortably. Whispers danced around me, unpredictable as the shadows cast by the overhead lamps. I knew they thought I was foolish, maybe even naive. I could feel their dismissals like stabs in my gut. I wanted to shout, "You don't understand. You don't see." But I was too paralyzed, drowning in the thick fog of my own despair. Then came the unexpected, a second laughter, light and wicked. A ripple of disbelief surged through the crowd. Amy, my boss, rolled her eyes and gave me that look, half sympathy, half annoyance. Everyone was waiting for the punchline. But what would it take to make them see the hunger within me? My mind raced as I stared into Daniel's piercing gaze. Was there a flicker of recognition? Maybe even understanding? Or was I just imagining hope? I couldn't let my dreams dissolve into nothing. I needed to pivot, to turn that laughter into something more, a challenge, an opportunity. I took a deep breath, smothering my doubts. In that moment, I threw caution to the wind. "If you don't think I can handle this job, let's make a bet," I blurted out impulsively. Gasps surrounded me, and the air was electric. People shifted, leaning in because suddenly this was entertainment. The stakes had been raised. Daniel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "A bet? You think you know me that well?" His words were laced with skepticism, but I saw a glimmer of interest. "You're brave, I'll give you that." The teasing laugh transformed, morphing into a challenge. The crowd sighed collectively, caught in suspense as tension thickened. My heart raced. It was now or never. Would he take me seriously? Could I steer this ship back on course? I could feel the weight of the moment like a breaking wave, mounting and mounting. Suddenly, vulnerability slipped away, replaced by a rush of determination. But what had I gotten myself into? As I stood there, palms sweating, I knew this was only the beginning. Fear clenched my chest as I faced the unknown. Could I turn this around? Would this gamble cost me everything? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The boardroom was silent, the air thick with curiosity and tension. I could hear my heartbeat, each thump dragging me deeper into uncertainty. Daniel's amused expression lingered in my mind. Was I really braver or simply reckless? It was too soon to tell, and all I had was this grand gamble hanging in the air. "Fine," Daniel said, finally breaking the silence. "What do you propose?" With every ounce of willpower, I latched onto the swelling hope igniting inside me. "If I can turn the company's performance around within 3 months, you'll get behind my proposal for the charity initiative I've been working on. It's crucial for families like mine." His eyes narrowed, intrigued yet still skeptical. "And if you fail?" I swallowed hard but met his gaze. "Then I walk away, no hard feelings." The seriousness of my words hung in the air like a storm cloud. I glanced at my colleagues, their expressions were a blend of disbelief and newfound respect. Maybe, just maybe, this was a moment to seize. This gamble could bring back the sense of purpose that had been absent for so long. A slow smile crept across Daniel's face, and for a flickering moment, I saw a glimmer of something almost human in his eyes. "You have a deal, then?" As the crowd erupted into whispers, I felt a rush of exhilaration, but that exhilaration quickly mingled with the gnawing uncertainty of what lay ahead. 3 months. How could I possibly turn everything around with that ticking clock hanging over me? After the meeting, I hurried back to my desk, adrenaline thrumming through my veins. I laid my head against the cool metal of my desk, closing my eyes, catching my breath. But the reality of my situation grounded me. I had to find a way to make this work not just for myself, but for Emily. As I stared blankly at my screen, my phone buzzed. A message from Emily lit up the screen. "I miss you. Can you come home this weekend?" It was a small reminder of the world outside the corporate walls, a family waiting patiently at the edge of my chaos. But how could I? The stakes were too high. I typed back, "I'll try my best," before tossing my phone aside. I had to dive into the abyss of the impending challenge. The next few days blurred into a whirlwind of frantic meetings and strategy sessions. I was both exhilarated and terrified, fueled by unrelenting motivation. I sharpened our team's focus, presenting new ideas, and gathering them under the banner of change. But with every step forward, I felt the shadows of doubt creeping in. Then, amidst the flurry of activity, an unexpected kindness broke through. Amy approached me one afternoon, her face softer than usual. "Hey," she said, hesitating. "I heard about your bet with Daniel. That took guts, really." "Thanks," I replied, trying to mask the surprise in my voice. "I just wish everyone saw this as an opportunity instead of a circus act." "Give them time," she said quietly. "And maybe, just maybe, I can help you out with this. I know the team is hesitant, but I can sway a few votes." A breath of relief washed over me. "Are you serious?" "Believe it or not, I want to see you succeed," she said, a hint of sincerity creeping into her tone. That unexpected gesture breathed a flicker of hope into my chaotic world. Little by little, my team rallied. We brainstormed late into the nights, fueled by caffeine and dreams. It was daunting, but watching the team come together, the desire to achieve something bigger than ourselves, ignited a spark I hadn't felt in ages. Days turned into weeks, and as the deadline loomed near, I prepared my presentation for the board meeting. I worked tirelessly, knowing I had to face Daniel again, knowing I had a chance to change everything. Then, in a quiet moment at home, I received a devastating text from Emily. "I can't keep doing this. You're not here. I need you, please." The weight of her struggle crashed down like a tidal wave, knocking the air from my lungs. I closed my eyes, feeling the breakup of our fragile family unit unravel deeper than just the surface of my work stress. Had I chosen the right path? Had I sacrificed too much for something that felt so uncertain? That night, my thoughts whirled like a tempest, erasing all the confidence I had built up. The day of the presentation arrived. My heart thundered as I stood at the podium, anticipation mingling with dread. As I walked into the serene yet intimidating boardroom, I noticed Daniel's scrutinizing gaze, and I couldn't shake the feeling of it being a trial, both for my career and for my family. Just as I opened my mouth to speak, the door swung open and in walked Emily. "I'm here," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. The boardroom gasped, and my world unraveled, split between joy and dread. In that moment, everything hung in the balance as I faced the most significant decision of my life. Do I lean in for my journey or reassure her that I would always choose family first? The air crackled with uncertainty, and I was caught between two worlds. The boardroom's tension was electric, a stark contrast to the warmth that radiated from Emily's unexpected arrival. My hands trembled, the papers I clutched shaking under the weight of my conflicting emotions. Excitement was swept away by an avalanche of dread, as her wide eyes met mine, pleading for understanding and connection. "Emily," I managed, my voice breaking only slightly. The board members exchanged puzzled looks, as if we were suddenly on a different stage entirely. "What are you doing here? I needed you to know that I am proud of you," she said, her voice wavering despite the strength of her words. "But seeing you like this, so consumed, it scares me." Her presence validated everything I had feared about the direction my life was taking. The ambitious dreams I held were juxtaposed against the reality of the family I feared I was losing. Daniel's voice cut through the thick silence. "It appears we have an uninvited guest." "Perhaps, for the good of the discussion, wait," I interrupted, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. "I know this isn't the time, but I need to address this. Emily is my daughter, and what I'm fighting for extends beyond these walls." Daniel raised an eyebrow, his demeanor flicking from uninterested to uncomfortably intrigued. "And what is it you're fighting for, exactly?" I felt the swarm of gazes pressing down like heavy stones, yet I stood taller because of Emily's presence. "I want to create a company that isn't just about profits, one that cares, supports, and believes in community. One that would support families like mine, who are struggling to make ends meet." Emily stepped closer, her small frame emanating strength that I desperately needed. "I miss you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "You were so much more before the pressure. I don't want to lose you to all this." I could see the glistening evidence of her anguish, her eyes reflecting every sleepless night that had slipped away while I poured my heart into my work. The stark realization struck me: I had locked her out of my world, creating a barrier built on ambition. With a deep breath that steadied my voice, I turned to the board members, having made my decision. I refuse to prioritize work over my family's well-being. If we can't incorporate kindness and compassion into our business model, then I believe we're all heading in the wrong direction. The profits won't mean anything if I don't have my heart in it, if I don't have my family. A familiar sense of rebellion stirred within me, a boldness I hadn't realized had lingered beneath the surface. I tried to catch Daniel's eye, attempting to gauge his reaction. The surprise etched on his face filled me with trepidation. "Incredible," Daniel finally replied, a hint of teasing disbelief lacing his words. "A CEO who prioritizes empathy over the bottom line, how refreshingly absurd." The tension morphed into something raw, unsettling almost. Was he mocking me? But there, beneath the caustic undertone, I could see something inquisitive brewing in his expression. Maybe it was a challenge, perhaps an invitation to reshape the way we did business. For the briefest moment, an unexpected alliance flickered through my mind that I held my ground, letting silence envelop the room as my heart pounded in my chest. I wouldn't let fear bind me to decisions I hadn't fully chosen. Fear wasn't the only voice I wanted to guide me. Love and hope deserved their place at the table. Then, unexpectedly, Amy chimed in. "What if we embraced this as a possibility? Imagine reshaping our corporate philosophy around real needs like those of our employees' families, like Emily here." Whispers began to ripple through the room, some nodding while others exchanged hesitant glances. I took a deep breath to steady myself, ready to propose a collective vision, just as Emily's hand slipped into mine, grounding me. "If I succeed, the charity initiative will not only help families survive but also empower them to thrive. We can build a bridge, not just to our stakeholders but to those who rely on us." Daniel remained still, observing as the crowd fluttered with energy, the murmurs swelling into a storm of hope challenging his skepticism. And then, just when I thought I could breathe, the boardroom doors slammed open again, and Jason, my most critical rival from finance, strode in, his face pale, eyes wide. "You all need to see this," he gasped, holding up his phone, his expression twisted in panic. The charity event was leaked to the press. Everyone's talking about it. It's going viral. The air crackled with both fear and potential. Would this be the backfire I had feared, or could it possibly be the rallying call for change that I had longed for? Do we retreat, or do we stand together? I thought, glancing down at Emily. Her faith in me pierced through the mounting chaos. Just then, amidst the tension and uncertainty, I noticed a flicker of hope ignite in our shared resolve. But it was quickly drowned out by anxiety as Daniel locked his eyes on me, an unexpected smile creeping onto his face. "Looks like you've got your first real challenge ahead of you," he said, the mirth dancing dangerously in his gaze. "Let's see how you handle it." And in that moment, with my daughter by my side and the clock ticking faster than ever, I understood that the gamble was just beginning, and the stakes had never been higher. The room was alive with buzzing voices, the atmosphere electric with trepidation and excitement. I could feel the pressure building against my ribcage, an ominous flutter of anxiety combined with a flicker of hope as I searched for my footing amidst the chaos Jason had ushered in. "People are going to form opinions, and we need to be ready," I voiced, trying to reel everyone's focus back, but my thoughts were a maelstrom. Emily's supportive grip tethered me, though. It sparked my resolve, reminding me that standing up for what truly mattered required not just words, but action. Do we have any metrics on the backlash? I turned to Jason, hoping to gauge the magnitude of what lay ahead. He nodded, face pale but focused. "We're seeing both negative and positive comments, but the collective interest, it's growing rapidly. If we don't manage the narrative carefully, this could spiral out of control." Daniel leaned back, arms crossed, his eyes glinting with an unnerving mix of intrigue and challenge. "Or we could embrace the momentum. Right now, the world wants authenticity. You've set a stage, and it's our job to perform." Seems like an exciting opportunity for a fresh perspective. What had begun as a desperate plea for empathy and a lifeline for families now morphed into a potential PR disaster, a double-edged sword that could either cut me free from the constraints of ambition or plunge me deeper into the cold waters of failure. But could I afford to turn back? Not when I felt the warmth of Emily's hand in mine, a reminder of what truly mattered. How do we harness this? I urged the room, my heart racing. Let's create a platform for our Visiona video, a live QA. Let the people see the human stories behind this initiative. It's not about polished images, it's about real lives. The board members exchanged glances, a mixture of apprehension and encouragement swirling in the air. Just as I began to think we might forge a path forward, a soft voice pierced through the chatter. "But what if we're exposed for mistakes we made along the way? What if this initiative is seen as mere corporate fluff?" Every eye turned toward Emily, the pulse of the discussion suspended in anticipation. Her apprehension mirrored my own fear of failure, of exposing our vulnerabilities in front of the world. Yet, in that moment, a softness crept into the tension. It was a vital reminder of the honest conversations we needed to have, both within our boardroom and outside it. "Let's face our flaws," I said quietly, locking eyes with Emily. "Share not just our mission, but our journey to get there. It's messy, it's real, and it's us." Daniel shifted forward, a spark of excited recognition igniting in his eyes. "It seems you're onto something. People relate to struggle. Authenticity is the key." The mood in the room changed, the weight of criticism became a potential catalyst for collaboration. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed Jason lowering his phone, wrestling his initial panic into keen focus. "If we're going down this road, we need a dedicated team to manage communications, a risk assessment strategy. This isn't a joke. If this explodes, we need contingency plans." "Right," I replied, feeling the pulse of enthusiasm rising. Empathy was breathing life into our chaos. "Let's hold a meeting to gather our marketing, PR, and finance teams, and map this out tonight." As the board members slowly nodded in agreement, a flicker of hope illuminated the corners of my mind. Could the very thing that threatened to shatter my debut initiative become the foundation of its success? I decided in that moment to cling fiercely to this possibility, but trepidation drifted just under the surface of our excitement. Hours later, deep into the brainstorming session, we dissected the risks and the potential rewards. Ideas tossed around like confetti, the room's atmosphere electric with newfound determination. I didn't let my gaze stray too far from Emily, her bright eyes tracing each exchange, reflecting courage I hadn't recognized before. She felt it too, the potential for something far greater than what either of us imagined. As we began to wrap up and consolidate plans, a message notification on my phone drew my attention. I swiped to reveal a social media post from an influential journalist, someone renowned for unearthing corporate scandals. Struggling CEO shields himself from reality with a charity initiative. What's his true motive? The word stung deeper than any criticism I had previously encountered, but the undercurrents of hope I felt earlier diminished. My heart plummeted as I scrolled through the thread of comments that followed, some supportive, others scathing, pounding me with reminders of my vulnerabilities. Is this the moment we've been waiting for? My heart raced. But I did not have the privilege to wallow in despair. I glanced back at the board, and the warmth of Emily's gaze ignited a tiny flicker within me. This would not be our end, rather, it could reignite the fire within me. Gather everyone. I suddenly commanded, the fervor of my spirit returning. Well, turn this around. We will lay everything bare and use this to serve our mission. Just as the words left my lips, a sudden rattle echoed through the office. The room fell silent, every eye darting towards the source of the chaos. The lights flickered, an unintended reminder of the tenuous grip we had on our resolve. And then in the dimmed glow, my phone buzzed again, a message that sent a chill down my spine. You won't last long in this arena, not with what I know about your past. As I stood there, adrenaline coursing through my veins, the weight of uncertainty draped heavily over my shoulders. The soaring chance for triumph now felt disjointed, as if it teetered precariously on the edge of an unfathomable drop. With Emily's presence grounding me, I exhaled slowly, realizing that the true battle had just begun. The air hung thick with tension as we processed the daunting message. My heart thundered in my chest, each beat now coupled with cascading waves of doubt and dread. What could this shadowy figure possibly know? I glanced at Emily, her eyes reflected the uncertainty coursing through me. But alongside that uncertainty was a resolute spark of defiance. Let's not panic, I said, though my voice trembled slightly as I spoke. The room remained silent, absorbing the heaviness of my words. We need to find out exactly who this is and what they have. If there's any truth to it, we can't allow it to define us. Jason nodded, though worry etched deeper lines on his face. But what if we verify the truth, Jason? I interjected, cutting through the dark cloud looming above us. This is a time for strategic thinking, not fear. We must own our narrative completely. Everyone exchanged glances, the gravity of our situation weighing heavily. In that moment, a spark of camaraderie ignited among us. We were no longer just a group of executives but a consortium of rebels ready to reclaim our story. Let's divide our tasks, Emily suggested, earning my gratitude instantly. We can create a team to investigate the source of this threat while another group continues working on our communication strategy. Good idea, Daniel chimed in. The worst thing we could do is stall out of fear. If this person's going to play dirty, we'll need to be steps ahead. Comfort flooded my veins at their resilience, and I couldn't help but feel pride for all of us. It was a flicker of hope amid the fear. It reminded me that we were not alone in this fight. My resolve solidified as I watched them rally together, exchanging ideas, leaning into one another's strengths, a community battling against the odds. As the team organized itself into smaller groups, I made my way over to Emily, who was scribbling notes while glancing between her phone and her notepad. You're really something, I murmured, feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for her relentless support. She looked up, her brows furrowing slightly in confusion. What do you mean? I mean, look at you. You're not just standing by me, you're actively contributing to this. Your voice is strong, and it spreads hope. A shy smile flickered across her lips, the shadows of worry still clinging but slowly lifting. I want this to succeed, not just for you or the initiative but for everyone whose stories we can impact. We all carry weight. Sometimes it's nice to feel like we can share it. My heart swelled, and I realized she was right. We were all tethered to this cause, intertwined in a web of shared experiences and hopes, facing our battles not in isolation, but unified. By the time the team started heading out with their assigned tasks, night had blanketed the office in hushed serenity. A hot cup of coffee in my hands warmed my palms as I glanced through my emails, stress churning in my stomach. Then I saw a follow-up message from the journalist, both more threatening and ruthless than the first. Dig deeper, and I will expose the connected lives derailed by your choices. The truth comes for all eventually. Let's see how you rise to the challenge. Heart racing, I realized this wasn't merely an attack, it was an invitation to begin a cycle of reckoning. But more than fear, disappointment rushed in. If parts of my past were to be dragged out into the glaring light, there was a chance I wouldn't just hurt myself, but everyone involved in the initiative. Just then, the office door swung open, and Jason strode in, his expression unreadable. We found out who is behind the posts, all of them. I braced myself. And, his lips pressed into a thin line. It's someone you know. Someone from before. Stunned silence enveloped the room, and my breath hitched with the weight of the revelation. The connection was undeniable. My past was eagerly clawing its way back into my life when all I had wanted was to escape it. What do you mean? I managed to say through a dry throat, pulse quickening. Remember the public scandal that took down your previous company? He asked. Studying my face. The memories flooded back with heart-stopping. Clarissa, web of betrayal, lost friendships, lives shattered by greed and ambition. Your past isn't just a shadow, Anna Marie, it's a weapon. They want to hurt you through your story, and they aren't playing fair. Suddenly, it wasn't only about the initiative anymore. It was about confronting layers of my identity that I thought I'd buried deep. But as I glanced at Emily, who was listening intently, determination flickered to life once more. I won't let that define me again, I declared, though my heart drummed a dissonant rhythm against my ribs. I'll address it. This time, we do it together. Just as I resolved to confront my fears head-on, my phone buzzed again, vibrating wildly against the desk. The ominous feeling bubbled up again in my chest. I picked it up, and my fingers trembled slightly as I read the latest notification: 3 minutes until I expose the truth unless you reach out first. Consider this your chance. In that moment, I faced the crushing reality that every choice would lead to a crossroads. Forward meant exposing vulnerability, while retreat signaled capitulation. The tension in the room spiked, my heart thudding with urgency. An unexpected twist awaited. What lay ahead promised the potential for personal triumph or devastating defeat. And as I stood at the precipice, unable to look away, I wondered, was it finally the moment we all dreaded, or the chance to reclaim everything? The aftermath of Jason's revelation reverberated through the room like a struck chord, vibrating with anxiety and the stirrings of courage. With the ultimatum flashing ominously on my phone, I felt that old, familiar weight in my chest, the burden of my past creeping in, whispering tales of failure and despair. Who is it? Emily's voice sliced through my thoughts, pressing for clarity. The others leaned in, eyes wide, drawing from my strength while searching for their own. It's someone from my past. Someone who knows everything. I swallowed hard, words clinging to my throat. They want to use my mistakes against us. What do we know about them? Daniel asked, his expression hardened, shifting from supporter to strategist. I thought I left that world behind, I replied, regret washing over me in wave after wave. But apparently not. They have both the ammunition and the intent. I can't enough, Jason interrupted, tone firm, but eyes glistening with empathy. We're not letting this person dictate the narrative. You must have done something right if you have all of us by your side. His words were both anchor and buoy, grounding me while lifting my spirit just enough to face the storm. It was true, I hadn't come this far merely to shrink in the shadows of my own history. We need to respond, strategically, Emily said, once again assuming the mantle of our leader. Let's gather everything we know, and I mean everything. Past correspondences, contacts, any previous situations that could give us insight into their motives. We have to control the story before they do. As the team fractured into hushed discussions, each member bouncing ideas off one another, I noticed a flicker of hope igniting in their tones. Every challenge sparking creativity, the tension palpable but morphing into something stronger resolve. Then came the knock. It was light but held an aura of foreboding. When the door creaked open, it revealed an unexpected face. Maggie, my erstwhile ally turned adversary, stood in the doorway. A mix of disbelief and unease washed over me. "I heard you're in trouble," she said, her voice steady yet veiled in hesitation, stepping inside without invitation. "And I came to offer help." The room went silent, every gaze snapping to her, scrutinizing her intentions. Doubt creased Jason's forehead, and a shadow seemed to cross Daniel's face. Emily, however, maintained her composure, evaluating the situation carefully. "What kind of help?" I asked, my throat tight. "That I know what they're trying to do. I want to help you mitigate the damage. A common enemy." She paused, and the weight of her past actions hung between us thick and suffocating. "Well, it makes for strange alliances, doesn't it?" Maggie had been part of the scandal that had so thoroughly entangled my life, but something in her eyes sparked a glimmer of sincerity. "You want to do this because?" I pressed, curiosity clawing at my better judgment. "That I want control," she replied simply. The narrative shifted too fast for me, and I lost everything I held dear. "I can either continue to let that enemy corrode my situation, or I can side with you. Whatever's next, I refuse to be in the firing line alone." The room held its collective breath. Could we trust her? Her hand had helped to bury me once. In this new fight for my reputation, would she help at all or seek vengeance disguised as allegiance? "What do you propose?" I asked, skepticism lacing my tone as I sought her plan. "Gather information on their story, figure out what they hold against you. If they think you're cornered, they'll strike. But if they see you rallying." She paused, an unexpected resolve igniting in her once hidden depths. "They'll think twice before pushing." "She makes some sense," Emily chimed in, her voice commanding even amidst the uncertainty. "If we're going into battle, it's wise to have potential allies strategize, gather intel. This could buy us more time." I watched as the team exchanged thoughtful glances, the line between trust and betrayal blurring. Was this the dark voice of desperation in me welcoming a former foe, or did a sliver of hope linger in Maggie's proposition? "Fine," I relented, piecing together the mosaic of possibilities. "But this is a fragile alliance. Betray us, and we'll expose you straight away." "Fair enough," Maggie replied, issuing a hint of a smile that felt ancient yet renewed. "But be aware, I might be your best chance to evade the onslaught that's coming." As the room buzzed with newfound determination and strategies materialized, we shared a moment of Clarissa united purpose forging through the ambiguous chaos. But as the plan solidified, a dark cloud loomed over us still, ready to unleash its fury. Just then, my phone chimed yet again. As I opened a text from the same menacing number, my heart dropped. "You'll wish you hadn't waited. There's still time to come clean." Tick-tock, tick-tock, with a sense of foreboding gnawing at my resolve, I closed my eyes for a fleeting instant, feeling both vulnerable yet fiercely alive. The relentless ticking clock was not merely a countdown, it was a challenge, pushing each one of us toward an impending confrontation, testing our resolve. "Time to get to work," I murmured, heart pounding in antagonistic beats, knowing that with each passing second, the vortex of my past was drawing near. And this time, it wouldn't simply be about my story but about all those still caught in its tumultuous wake. Would we unravel or rise from the ashes? Only the impending revelation held the answer, and the tension clenched the air like an ever-tightening noose. The ensuing hours were a blur of activity fraught with anxiety and urgency. Each tick of the clock buzzed in the back of my mind, feeding a gnawing dread. As I began to sift through my old correspondence messages and emails from a time that felt like another life, a thread of determination wove through my confusion. Only scattered reflections remained, moments that felt like shards of glass, sharp but glimmering with possibility. Maggie took charge of organizing our findings, diligently instructing Daniel and Jason on how to access older records, while Emily enlisted the help of our tech-savvy friends to track down any information about our potential adversary. Together they operated with a synergy that felt both daunting and exhilarating. And as we catalogued old connections from my past, the atmosphere began to shift. It was a raw battle against time, a storm brewing in our midst, but beneath that, a flicker of warmth emerged. That I, in the midst of it all, Emily paused and revealed a small, handwritten note she had found among my past correspondences. It was from a mentor, someone who had always believed in my potential. "Don't forget who you are," it read, "the past can't define you unless you allow it to." I took it gratefully, feeling the weight of the words wash over me like a bomb. In a world so consumed by the fire of disinformation, here was an ember of hope, a reminder that I could reshape my narrative. My heart fluttered with renewed purpose, yet, that solace couldn't last. The surprise alliance with Maggie was wearing thin. Gleams of mistrust lingered, festering beneath our shared ambition. During a break from our electronic probing, I encountered her alone in the corner of the room, illuminated by the soft glow of a nearby lamp. Shed stepped away, her facade flickering in intensity behind her eyes rare for our grim circumstances. "Maggie," I ventured, taking a cautious step towards her, "are you doing this to help me or to help yourself?" She looked up, her defenses seemingly dropping for just a moment. "Why can't it be both?" "Because I can't afford to play with fire," I retorted, frustration bubbling within me. "If this blows up in our faces, it's my life at stake." That a fragmented sigh slipped out as she leaned against the wall, her expression wavering between vulnerability and defiance. "You think I don't know what's at stake? I lost everything because of my own mistakes: friends, reputation, my purpose. This is survival, and am not going to let anyone." Her voice faltered as if she were testing the depths of trust within me. I felt that familiar twinge of empathy, a reminder of how easily the universe pulls its strings to weave people together. "We've both hurt others," I said, my voice steadying. "Maybe we could become something better together." Before she could respond, Jason entered with a furrowed brow, his cell phone buzzing relentlessly in his pocket. His intense gaze zeroed in on me and Maggie, and the atmosphere shifted, possibilities tightening around us. "We've found something," Jason said, urgency lacing his words. "The name behind the number. It leads to a company known for unethical strategies. Apparently, the CEO has a few skeletons of their own." "What kind of skeletons?" I asked, my heart racing. "That I am not sure yet, but if we dig deep enough we might be able to leverage that." Emily joined us soon after, her face pale yet filled with fierce determination. "If we can unveil their dirt, we might not only protect ourselves but turn this all around." In that moment of fierce connection, too, we formed an unspoken pact. Each of us was enduring a maze of pain, but here, we could transform that despair into strength. It was a sketch of hope amidst the sharp edges of our reality. Yet just as the air thickened with expectation, my phone chimed again, a harsh intrusion into our moment of unity. This time, it was a voice message, the tone dripping with mockery. I pressed play, the voice echoing hauntingly through the tense silence. "Tick-tock, tick-tock, dear friend. I hope you enjoy this little game. I know things about you, hidden lessons from the past that you've yet to recount. And am just waiting for the right moment to spill." A wave of terror crashed over me, icy and paralyzing. Every instinct told me to retreat from the enormity of the threat looming at our doorstep. "They know," I gasped, feeling the heat of panic coursing through me. Maggie stepped forward, her features hardening into resolve. "Then we need to act. Now. Before they strike." The room crackled with tension, the air laden with unspoken fears. We were no longer simply shaping a narrative, we were being herded toward a confrontation. I could feel the weight shifting, old bloodlines drawing in closer as desperation crackled like static in the air. And so, it began, the race against time. Behind every heartbeat lay the shadows of our fears, whispering doubts of failure and betrayal. But despite it all, I took a deep breath amidst the encroaching darkness, knowing we were no longer fighting just for my survival. As we prepared for what lay ahead, I caught sight of Emily's unwavering gaze filled with defiance and determination. The flicker of hope ignited once more, the countdown was on, and the echoes of our choices would resonate loudly into the future. What awaited us around the corner remained shrouded in uncertainty, but as we steeled ourselves for the skirmish against the demons we couldn't fully see, I knew one thing: this was just the beginning. The following days crept by like shadows across a setting sun, filled with an escalating tension that seemed to thrum in the very air we breathed. Each clue we unearthed about the CEO, each new layer peeled back, escalated our paranoia, but also intensified our resolve to fight back. The world outside, with its unchanged rhythms, felt increasingly distant, like a memory fading into obscurity. Maggie, Daniel, Jason, and Emily were digging deeper into the murky waters surrounding our adversary, each of us clutching the flicker of hope like it was a lifeline. It was this shared purpose that pulled us closer, edging away from our individual pains. The late-night brainstorming sessions turned into moments of laughter through the fatigue. We would tease Jason about his overly dramatic predictions or argue playfully over which old records held the most promise, yet, as the days wore on, the mockery echoing from my phone felt like a thundercloud hovering ominously over us, ready to unleash destruction. The voice messages grew bolder, taunting me with secrets I thought I'd long buried. "Your past will catch up to you, dear friend," they seemed to jeer, "and when it does, it won't be pretty." One particularly restless evening, as rain pattered softly against the window, I found myself alone. The overstuffed armchair in the corner cradled my weary body, yet the heaviness in my heart made me feel untethered. I replayed the cruel voice in my mind, the way it toyed with my existence, and the specter of my choices loomed larger than ever. What if it was true? What if I couldn't outrun the sins of my past? As I spiraled, I noticed a light flickering behind me, a gentle glow. It was Emily, standing in the doorway, holding a mug of steaming tea. "Thought you might need this," she said, her voice brightening my dim thoughts. Accepting it, I felt the warmth seep into my hands as I took a sip, sweet like a promise. "Thank you, Em," I whispered. I feel like a house of cards, you know." One gust, and it could all come crashing down. Her gaze softened as she stepped inside, settling cross-legged on the floor beside me. "It's okay to feel that way. But remember when we uncovered that lead about the CEO? How alive and hopeful we felt in that moment." "Those moments seem so fleeting," I sighed, looking out at the rain-soaked world, a blur of life moving on. "What if we fail, then we start again," she replied. "This isn't just about uncovering their secrets, it's about us reclaiming who we are. You carry so much more strength than you realized." A silence enveloped us, and I pondered her words. Could I truly reclaim my narrative amidst this chaos? Just then, the phone in my pocket chimed, again a reminder of my entrapment. The impending dread welled within me like a rising tide. Glancing at Emily, I felt something shift, in understanding that perhaps this confrontation was not all darkness. In the end, who we emerged as on the other side held power, too. "Emily," I said cautiously, "what if we could pivot this? What if the CEO thinks I'm vulnerable when really, I was ready for a fight." The days that followed turned into a whirlwind as we laid plans for how to outsmart our opponent. Under the cover of night, our team transformed, carrying whispers of hope and resilience. I dug deep into my past, confronting moments I felt embarrassed by or tried to forget. With every step I took into that labyrinth of memories, I began to see a different light emerge, one that was not shaped solely by my failings, but as a part of the whole, intricate, complex, and beautiful. The breakthrough came on a cold Thursday morning when Jason burst into the room, barely catching his breath. "I've got it. The CEO's past. There's a charity gala coming up. They have ties to dubious donations just like the ones in their company's financial ledgers. If people knew the thrill of the moment wrapped around us, igniting the room with a sense of purpose. We can expose them," I said, barely recognizing my own voice, the excitement bubbling over. The thrill of taking back the control I thought I had lost surged within me, but as our plan began to take shape, whispers of unease seeped back in. I began to see signs of pressure emerging within our team. Maggie's once steady resolve now flickered, and I worried her motivations were re-emerging, leading her to act out of self-interest rather than collective strength. And just as our united front started to construct a formidable assault on the truth, I stumbled upon a detail that tugged at my heart: a small, seemingly innocuous note in one of the documents. A name. A name from my past, intertwined with the CEO's family, someone I had never wanted to revisit. My breath quickened, grasping the truth as the pieces started to fall unsettlingly into place. This isn't just a game of tactics anymore. I could feel the ground shift beneath me, and with every second that ticked past, the stakes were raised higher. I gripped my phone tightly, eyes widening as the realization hit hard. This game led deeper than I anticipated, intertwining my fate with an betrayal fresh from yesteryears. The confrontation was near, but the revelation left unspoken. Everything, including the hidden loyalties, could shift like the tides, and just as hope blossomed at the edge of our grasp, the curtain rose on a stage awaiting its impending drama. My only certainty. The past was yet to reclaim its due, and perhaps, the real fight was just beginning. The morning broke with a silence that hung heavily in the air, as if the world itself held its breath, bracing for the storm that brewed beneath the surface. Remnants of the previous day swirled in my mind like autumn leaves caught in a gust. Each detail, each revelation, felt like an ember glowing in the darkness, promising warmth but threatening to ignite something more chaotic. As I arrived at our usual meeting spot, a small cafe with an old-world charm, I felt the weight of the unspoken truth resting on my shoulders. Maggie was already seated at our usual table, staring out the window. Her fingers drummed anxiously against her coffee cup. The cracks in her resolve were more pronounced now, like spider webs threatening to snap at any moment. I hesitated before approaching, unsure of how to breach the impending conversation that loomed like a specter between us. "Hey," I said gently, taking a seat across from her. "You okay?" Her eyes flicked to mine, a mixture of vulnerability and defiance reflected in her gaze. "I don't know, honestly. This whole plan, it feels bigger than all of us, doesn't it?" It was a question laced with fear, echoing the tumult of my own thoughts. "It does." I reached for her hand, seeking to anchor not just her but myself in this overwhelming sea of uncertainty. "But it's also about accountability. If we don't act now, what chance do we have to change things?" Her lips curled into a small, uncertain smile as she glanced back towards the street, where sunlight dared to break through the gray clouds. "I guess. But what if we dig too deep? What if it comes back to haunt us?" That nagging voice in the back of my head reminded me of the uncertainties ahead. "We navigate it together," I promised, compelled to believe in the power of our unity amidst encroaching shadows. "We start by shedding light on the truth." Just as I settled back into the courage that connected us, Daniel arrived, a breeze of energy trailing behind him. His demeanor was unmistakably upbeat, a stark contrast to the heaviness hanging around our table. "You won't believe what I found last night," he exclaimed, excitement radiating from him like sunshine piercing through clouds. "What is it?" Maggie asked, her curiosity piqued. With a grin that could almost undo the tension within me, he leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I found evidence. Documents proving the CEO's connection to some of those dubious donations. This could change everything." A rush of adrenaline coursed through my veins, momentarily masking the fear that had begun to creep in. "Can we use this? This is brilliant, Danny." But even as the exhilaration surged among us, I caught a glimpse of Emily walking towards us, her face drawn and serious. The sight sent tremors of trepidation through the burgeoning victory we still clung to. "We need to talk," she declared, her voice steady but urgent. A sensation of dread coiled in my stomach as she took her seat, the table's energy shifting ominously. "I overheard something last night," she began, her eyes darting to each of us. "There are rumors. People are talking, and it doesn't look good for us. The CEO has private security watching us." The laughter and excitement drained from the table, leaving behind a chilling vacuum. "What do you mean?" My voice faltered, petrified by what lay beneath her words. Emily leaned closer, intensity radiating from her. "If we make a wrong move, if we show even a hint of our plan, the repercussions will be severe. We need to reconsider how we're handling this." her words landed like stones thrown into calm waters, rippling outwards and unsettling each of our thoughts. Would all our work be for naught? But there, nestled in the growing fear, the heartbeat of resolve thumped louder, igniting a fire underneath the uncertainty. Just then, my phone buzzed violently on the table, jolting every one of us back. The screen lit with a message from an unknown sender, a chilling reminder of my past. "You will pay for what you've done. I know everything." My breath hitched in my throat, the faceless accusation dragging shadows back to reality. "Who is that?" Maggie questioned, her worry evident, gripping my hand tighter with each word. "That I don't know," I admitted, panic flooding my senses. "But whoever it is, they know too much." The walls around me tightened, the imminent collapse feeling unavoidable. How had I allowed my past to creep back into my life? But in that moment, as my friends leaned closer, eyes filled with a mix of fear and solidarity, I sensed a spark of defiance kindled within. "This doesn't have to end in tragedy," I whispered, the fight rising within me. "We expose them, we take control back." Together, despite the impending storm clouds, the hope burgeoned around our table, weaving an unspoken promise. But as we sat enveloped in the precarious embrace of unshakable friendship, I couldn't shake the feeling that the true battle was yet to unravel. The faint echoes of betrayal and unhealed wounds layered beneath my resolve left me trembling, knowing the stakes were higher than they'd ever been. In the midst of triumphs and revelations, fate had yet to reveal its next card, and little did I know, the bombshell lurking just outside our circle of trust would change everything. The heaviness in the air hung like storm clouds ready to burst. The moments that followed were nothing less than a cacophony of heartbeats, whispers, and uncertainty. We needed clarity with every ounce of strength we could summon, because the clock continued to tick ominously. Emily's steady gaze burned into my soul, urging me to acknowledge fears that had been buried. "If what you found implicates them, it's dangerous," she imposed, gripping the edge of the table like it was a lifeline. "What if they retaliate?" In the throes of that trepidation, I assimilated our shared past. Every challenge we faced seemed minuscule compared to this. My heart raced, the adrenaline surging through me as I thought of the looming confrontation. "We cannot let fear paralyze us," I replied, the words wrapping around my resolve like a protective cloak. "I wouldn't fight for myself alone. We owe it to every family counting on us. Every life that can't be torn apart because of our mistakes." Maggie's internal battle unfolded before Mesh looked torn between the desire to prove herself useful and the remnants of her own betrayal. "I can reach out to some connections," she ventured cautiously. "There's a network I've gained from my time. If I can find something solid on the CEO's shady practices, maybe even leverage it." It was a flicker of the old fire in her, and against the backdrop of turmoil, I found solace in that. "Well, back you up," Jason chimed, confidence bubbling as he crossed his arms defiantly. "We can strategize, mitigate the risks together. It's now or never." The murmurs of commitment blossomed amongst us, reminding my heart what unity felt like. A breath of fresh air amidst the stifling dread that I leaned back as a flood of determination surged within me. "Let's put the pieces together. If we can unveil their unsavory connections at the gala, we can reclaim our own narrative. Well, turn the tables." There was unity in those words, enveloping my declarations like a promise, the kind of promise that resonated beyond fear. The cafe buzz melted into an urgent collaboration, fingers flew across keyboards, sketches were drawn, and strategies began to form. In the momentum of the moment, just as hope seemed to blossom, the colored glow of my phone ignited with a chilling luminosity, demanding attention. It buzzed again, the familiar ominous glow I had begun to dread illuminated my surroundings, eyes pooling with confusion and something akin to dread as I opened the message, me heart pounding loudly against my ribcage. "TikTok," it began, a mocking refrain that reset my senses. "The gala is just around the corner. Are you sure you want to expose all your skeletons and mine?" Sweat pricked my forehead as my palms tinged with cold slices of fear. A sense of betrayal mixed with clarity twisted within me, tightening like a noose. "Who are you?" I rushed to reply but felt a deep pull of uncertainty bubble beneath the surface. The response came swiftly, and my heart sank deeper. "You remember Charlotte, don't you? The one who fell after you chose to protect yourself." The words taunted me, stabbing at wounds I thought healed, threatening to drag me back into the shadows. My world felt fragile, as if the very air had been stolen. Charlotte, a name I hadn't uttered in years, navigated through the corridors of my memory uninvited, painting remnants of pain across my heart. My stomach knotted tight as uncertainty clouded the vision of my companions. Could they see the fissures dancing behind my determined facade? The inquiry slipped from my lips before I could stop myself. What do you want? To destroy my life? I won't give you that satisfaction, the response settled like a chill. Oh, dear friend. It's about more than satisfaction, it's about seeing the truth come to light. Dread consumed my thoughts as, for the first time in what felt like eternity, I glimpsed the proverbial precipice. The foundation upon which all my efforts rested was dangerously unsteady. Everyone leaned forward as my inner battle became palpable. I couldn't share the entirety of my past with them, the bond of shame tugging at my feet, but there was no backing away. They needed to know. Listen, I finally said, my voice steady but laced with apprehension. This fight isn't just about corporate vengeance. It touches lives, including those I lost control of long ago. Someone I hurt. Charlotte cowled. Become an unpredictable player in this narrative. Maggie's brow furrowed further, fury mingling with sympathy. But you could also use their own game against them, she blurted. That's the beauty of exposing their secrets. Heart racing like a runaway train, I found myself caught between vulnerability and defiance. I have to confront this. Maybe that's my way to break the cycle, I murmured, grappling with the weight of the past threatening to tear apart who I'd become. Then we do it together, Daniel said, resolute, as the warmth and strength from those around me surged and enveloped me. Whatever comes, we face it. This time, we choose to own our stories. We won't let them dictate our ending. The camaraderie cocooned me, a sweet counterpoint against the chilling fear that had previously gripped my heart. As we set our strategies aligned with purpose, a focus forged in unity, the flicker of hope turned into a glowing ember, illuminating a path through the darkness that we maneuvered together through the intricacies of our plan, diving deep into shadows to find the light. Emila's steady presence remained always within eye range, igniting the heart that felt heavy with uncertainty, while each member of my team contributed unique insights, a tapestry woven from their own battles that now steered us toward the tumultuous fight ahead. The gala day arrived, shrouded in an intoxicating blend of glamour and dread. The echoes of laughter floated around me, swallowed by the anticipation thick in the air as our whispers of courage intermingled with the swirl of formal attire. I couldn't help but feel anxious. A gathering of power and wealth encircled me, sculpted masks hiding both shadows and hopes, moments compressed into a kaleidoscope of time as laughter melded with genetically tailored dreams. Colors of elegant gowns and polished suits flashed by, blurring into insignificance. The 3 long hours until the confrontation felt like eternity, but as I stood in a corner alongside my allies, our conversation flowed with purpose. The plan became a carefully orchestrated dance we'd designed together. There, Emily pointed, drawing my attention to where the CEO mingled effortlessly among the crowd. My heart raced. This was the confrontation we'd spent days scripting. I inhaled the cool air deeply, steadying myself, feeling the support and strength enveloping me. Let's get into place, I urged, the fire within me sparking against the chill of uncertainty. Each step we took toward the epicenter felt monumental, tendrils of our histories coalescing as we moved, buckling beneath the weight of every unresolved moment. As we neared the cluster of laughter and social chatter, I turned to my friends, each one's face radiating determination, ready to fight. On 3, I whispered, my body thrumming with intensity. 1, 2, 3, we merged ourselves into the dynamic swirl, and my heart throbbed with both dread and strength. The CEO turned, surprise flaring in their eyes that quickly dashed into a flash of cunning. We need to converse, I stated confidently, knowing that my voice carried strength forged in vulnerability. Facing my past and everything I had lost, I stood ready. Your days of playing God with families ended today. The tension shifted in the air, a palpable buzz amid smiles and air-kissed greetings, but beneath it lurked the looming truth of a confrontation yet to unfold. What is the meaning of this? The CEO sneered, but even their facade cracked slightly at my words. A challenge had been issued, bright with a clarity that pierced through their veiled ambition. Look beyond mere facade, I shot back, steeling my resolve. You may propagate as a paragon, but every lie breathes weakness and desperation. The silence around us thickened, the world paused. Unspoken words drifted, twisting in the air with anticipation. I took a deep breath, my body readying for the reaction, but the glimmer of recognition already flickered firmly in my heart. Emboldened, I stepped closer. You were not the consequences alone. It's far more significant than that. It's every face you've impacted, every family torn apart by unchanging cycles of greed. I'll expose your truth. Just then, I felt familiar warmth pressing against my side. My team rallied behind me, our shared heartbeat amplifying the defiance in that moment. I clasped Emila's hand tight, her energy strengthening me as she encouraged me to press on. The crowd began to murmur as the CEO's gaze darted from me to the allies arrayed beside me. Something unremarkable shifted. My past threatened to recoil, the moment held its breath, teetering on the brink of chaos or resolution, but the hidden truths beckoned, they were surfacing alongside the fears that had bound me. As I reclaimed my narrative, I sensed the shared fears of those standing beside me, fears that once wove through each of our lives now bound us together like a shield. That I stand not just for myself, but for everyone else stifled beneath the weight of your illusions, I proclaimed, finding conviction in every word. And you will answer for that. The uneasy silence morphed, whispers swirling as the eyes of the crowd turned toward the CEO, who merely recoiled beneath the scrutiny. Their foundation trembled under the pressure, influence cracking like thin glass. That I won't bend to the chaos of my past. I won't let it dictate my journey any longer, I declared, summoning every ounce of courage buried deep within, feeling the warmth from my allies radiate behind me. And you can't erase the myriad lives your vile treachery has altered. That I in that moment, the realization dawned upon me, whose echoes no longer defined my present, notions of confusion and regret surrendered to affirmation. The flame igniting from camaraderie and love shone brighter than any shadow could extinguish. As if the universe shifted in tandem, the arena reverberated with newfound vibrancy. Applause erupted. Emotion suffused the air, full of catharsis, bringing the very light that could dispel the ridicule of our collective past. My throat tightened as a rush of emotion swept through the gathering, and suddenly it became clear. The strength of my vulnerability had turned chaos into a powerful surge of hope, restoring faith in the path we were forging, illuminating the way we could collectively reshape our destinies together. With each breath taken, I dared towards the challenge ahead, ready to reclaim every piece of myself still flickering with uncertainty. Grounded by those at my side, honesty, anchoring love, unwavering confidence against adversity, a sense of prevalent strength reigned. The moment felt transformative as the warmth spilled from my heart, blooming with resolution. Together, we shatter the cycles of greed, I proclaimed, our voices resonating as one. And as I faced the CEO's spindly expression, our roles unceremoniously flipped, I broke the silence with conviction. This is only the beginning. The echoes of my words formed an unbreakable vow, true strength shining through in every flicker of hope ignited in the hearts of everyone around me. The darkness of past choices may linger, but what lay within us, what we chose to face and dismantle together, was the dawn of new beginnings. With every ounce of love gathered in that moment, we stood poised against whatever storm awaited us, our chapter anew against the cyclic tides. And as that flickering hope transformed into a radiant flame weaving through the embers of our shared futures, I felt the profound liberation of finally letting go, ready to embrace the journey before me. In that rush of emotion, there lay something deeper at play, a reminder echoing unmistakably. True strength blossoms not just from facing the darkness, but from harnessing the light we find in each other.